Welcome to Cybersmart's Chatterbox series for parents. I'm Kelly.
I'm Cara.
And I'm Gulsum. We've all been teachers in Australian schools and are now education advisors for the Cybersmart educational program.
Cybersmart Chatterbox has been designed to help parents help their children and whole families to find out how to be cybersmart and to use the internet safely. You can join the conversation and forum by following the link below.
Regardless of age, young and old, we're all probably guilty of indulging in a little bit of social media voyeurism at some stage. Call it Facebook stalking or passive viewing if you might, but I'm sure we've all done it. Traditionally, a voyeur is someone who watches someone secretly. However, the reality is that social media voyeurism is something that's mostly encouraged by those who actually post all these photos of their food and countless selfies online.
Do you think the phenomenon of selfies encourage this voyeuristic culture further?
I don't know if you heard, but the other day the word selfie has just been announced as the Oxford Dictionary's word of 2013, and the term has increased its usage by over 17,000% in the last year. So I think that figure alone is really reflective of how mainstream the practice of selfies has now become.
And for anyone who doesn't know what a selfie is, it's typically a self-portrait taken with a camera phone or a device of some sort, usually at arm's length and usually with an accompanying duck pout.
So you're talking like the Miley selfie where it's obligatory to stick your tongue out? Or have you seen the Belfies, which Kim Kardashian has actually made quite famous?
Oh, did you want to explain what that Belfie is?
Well, really, a Belfie is a picture of your backside taking prominence in the photo as opposed to your face.
Well, some people actually view this whole phenomenon of selfies as actually proof of cultural or generational narcissism or moral decline. Yet, if you think about it, historically, having self-portraits taken was just something that people did. And really, today, we're just continuing that on. I think mobile phones and technology have just actually made selfies much more accessible.
And much more fun. Selfies are about self-exploration, they're about expression, and they're about documentation. In today's age, a collection of selfies at different locations or times can even serve as a diary or a keepsake. And I actually reckon that's why a lot of people take to Facebook, because it's essentially scrapbooking your own life. So while the technology may be new, the instinct it might satisfy is actually not.
However, I think some of these photos and images that we see and the sorts of photos that teens are posting, to me, it looks like a bit of a superficial invitation for others to judge you on appearance. And I think it can start to be a little bit destructive, particularly for those people who are, questioning their self-worth, and they're really boosted, by a whole lot of people, liking their particular image.
Or they might be destroyed by the opposite, say, if there's a resounding silence to what's been posted.
So if kids are posting selfies and other pictures of themselves online for validation, as you say, can the same be said about sexting as well? Or are the motivations behind sending a sexually explicit picture of yourself to someone a little bit more different than posting a selfie?
I think definitely there's a real difference, and we know that one of the main reasons kids generally send a sexed sort of photo is because they're in a relationship, or it might be that they'd like to be in a relationship with someone, so they send a picture of themselves, or they might just want to further that relationship.
While sharing suggestive images or text messages may seem like innocent flirting or be funny for young people, it can actually have serious social and legal consequences. And it's the ease and the speed of the sharing which reduces the necessary reflective thought. We know that a quarter of 16 to 17-year-olds have actually shared something that they've later regretted.
So based on those legal consequences, a person who creates, possesses or distributes sexually suggestive images of minors may actually be breaking the law. Although some states are currently working towards updating these child pornography laws, currently as it stands, it's all a little complicated.
And I think the central question is really distinguishing between the sexual threats of a genuine pedophile as opposed to teenage sexual curiosity.
When we relate it back to young people and focus on incidents that may have gone wrong between boyfriend and girlfriend, we often shame the sender, and there's not really much focus on the person that has distributed the image.
So it's an interesting point that you've made, but how does a flirtatious photo turn from just a bit of fun into a potential crime or something that significantly impacts on all the parties that are involved?
Well, it can be hard for young people to anticipate the potential outcome of sharing these provocative pictures, especially when they really do trust the people they're sharing them with. So once images and messages are sent, they can often spread really quickly. If an image is posted online, it can almost be impossible to remove it or to control access to it, and this can really affect the person depicted in the picture. There have been cases in the past where pictures of this nature have gotten into the wrong hands and have been used to blackmail, cyberbully, stalk or harass the person in the photo.
I think a lot of parents would be really scared about, what we're talking about now. So what can parents do to prevent sexting-related incidences before they happen, if that's possible? And can you get help if your child is involved in an incident like this?
I think it's important to strip it back and chat to your child about what trusting and respectful relationships look like, the consequences of relationship breakdowns and the images spreading. So putting it all in a broader context, you need to apply the whole world test. So if you're about to send a private picture to someone, you need to stop and think about what could happen if this private image suddenly went public, who would see it, and how would you actually feel knowing that it was so public?
And if your child has been involved in a sexting incident, I think the first thing to do is just stay calm. Ask the person who's received it or sent it around to delete the image. And if it is posted online, it's best to report it so that it can be removed. It might also be a good idea to contact the police or seek advice from your state or territory's youth legal centres. And also remember, it's really important to look after your child's mental health. Even a simple phone call to the Kids Helpline to chat about the issues that are emerging will ensure that your child knows that he or she has some external help there available as well.
So we've been talking about how photos can actually be permanent once we post them online, and I think it's really important to get the message out that you post a photo, you post text, and you might as well put your hands up in the air. You are relinquishing all control of the image. But if we just change the story a little bit, what happens when, as parents, and this can happen so easily, when we can unknowingly violate our kids' privacy by posting photos of them, maybe without their permission?
Well, recently a quite famous landscape photographer with a huge following posted a beach sunset photo that featured a silhouette of his teenage daughter performing a handstand, quite innocent. And what he did was he tagged his daughter in this picture, and this therefore led a lot of people just linking through her name into her page, which didn't have any privacy settings on it. This young girl got absolutely inundated by strangers who decided it was okay to make heaps of inappropriate comments about her body and her social life. So, in reality, this father who innocently linked to his daughter's page didn't even think twice about it, and he ended up being responsible for shifting a massive amount of mostly negative attention to his daughter's pictures. So he didn't actually do anything wrong, but it was an innocent action that led to quite an unpleasant reaction.
As a parent, it raises that question, how do we model positive online behaviour and where do we draw the line when it comes to sharing images of our kids?
That is actually quite a hard question to answer, and that will probably vary for each family. So instead of setting hard and fast rules, I think it's important just to establish your own boundaries. The easiest way to do this might just be to apply the whole world test. So, if this image or action was to be seen by every single person in the whole world, would I still post it? Or will my child be embarrassed by this if every single person in the whole world saw it?
I think just in general, that's a really good way to think about most of our actions online, not just as parents, but also about passing that kind of critical, reflective thinking onto our kids.
And I think if you're applying the whole world test that, we've spoken about to online scenarios, I would think that encouraging your children to consider if they would translate their online behaviour in an offline context would be a good way to get them thinking about consequences too. And by that I mean, would you put that Miley Cyrus inspired selfie or sticking your tongue out photo on a document like your CV when you want to get that first casual job? Or do you put it on the billboard that everyone will see on the freeway to the airport? And if the answer's no, there's your answer. It's probably not a good idea to post it on your public profile either.
Definitely. Well, there's some good tips there. If you'd like further information about online issues or just some basic conversation starters to talk about these issues with your kids, please visit our website on www.cybersmart.gov.au.
3 logos appear: the Australian Government crest and the words Australian Government, the ACMA Australian Communications and Media Authority, and Cybersmart. The end.